I think what we'll do is we'll just start off with some introduction. So this is Vinayak. He runs the Dram Club, right?
Dram Club, yeah.
And I'm going to let him introduce himself. So please take it ahead.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Vinayak. I'm the founder of the Dram Club. We are India's biggest community when it comes to all things whiskey and tequila primarily. So we do a lot of experiences around whiskey and tequila, and also we create a lot of content around whiskey and tequila primarily again. So the,
And just to introduce myself, I'm Kumar Jhuremalani. I run a food community called Pet Pujaris. We've been doing food meetups around the city since 2011, and we even organize some food trips called Yummy Yatras, which take foodies out of the city to eat. So here you've got whiskey, here you've got food, and we're going to be talking primarily about whiskey and beverage tourism, though. So I'm going to start it off. So this is going to be a discussion. So I'm going to be asking him questions. He's going to be answering them. Vinayak, what is beverage tourism, and why do you think it's gaining popularity amongst travelers?
so beverage tourism primarily is when you travel for alcohol or all things beverage. Like I remember, let's say France is known for wine, Italy is known for wine, Scotland is known for whiskey, Japan is known for whiskey. So it's all and these countries beverage, whether it's whiskey, whether it's beer in Germany is big, beer in Belgium is massive. So it's part of the social fabric. It's actually, you don't travel to drink there. It's part of the overall experience. So beverage tourism is all about discovering the culture, the history through the beverage that has been sort of associated with that country.
Okay, excellent. And no, that's actually interesting. I know I'm going to just sidetrack over here, but I think a lot of y'all would have had friends who especially go for Oktoberfest, right? There'll be a lot of stories, a lot of people who keep visiting Oktoberfest. So that's a prime example of beverage tourism, right? Just to experience the culture over there. Of course, over there, the whole point is not mainly culture, but that's something else. It's party, but yeah.
But again, see, that's part of the whole Bavarian culture, right? I mean, the Oktoberfest, I think, goes back hundreds of years ago. So,
Right. So now, when we talk about whiskey, right, one of the few countries that come to mind is, of course, Scotland.
right.
Right. So how does Scotland stand out as a beverage tourism destination compared to others?
See, so when it comes to whiskey, Scotland is the biggest producer of whiskey in the world. Scotland has about more than 150 distilleries. The entire ecosystem is built around the whole distillery tourism. Like Glenfarclas was the first to start a visitor center way back in 1960s. So since then, all the distilleries have been actively promoting visitors to come experience the whole craft. So just to give you an example, when we float Whiskey Trail to Scotland, we get hundreds of inquiries. And when we float a trip to Ireland, the number of inquiries are like teens. Really? Yeah, because see, think of it, whiskey, no one thinks of Ireland as a whiskey destination, right? While Irish whiskies, in Ireland, whiskey is making a comeback. There are 50 odd distilleries in Ireland, but the most known brand from Ireland is your Jameson's. While with Scotland, there are multiple distilleries out there where so for average Indian or across people across the world, Scotland is the sort of destination when it comes to whiskey.
Okay. Just for personal knowledge, Lafroig is Scottish or Irish?
Scotland, it's on Islay. So Scotland has 5 whiskey regions. Islay is where all the smoky whiskies come from. Most of the smoky whiskies come from.
And yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorites. That's why I was asking. Okay. So can you share some unique experiences travelers can expect while exploring Scotland's rich beverage culture?
See, so, for starters, while Scotland is known for whiskey, they make some exceptional beers. I mean, like I've had some mind-blowing, like for me, Belgium is a country for beers, but some of the beers that I've had in Scotland are like absolutely outright mind-blowing. They make gins, a lot of good gins in Scotland. And when it comes to distillery visits, like I'll give you an example. When we did our first trip to Scotland, people who came with us, they had the experience of having a lunch, like good 4-5 hour session with the oldest serving master distiller in Scotland. He was a 78-year-old gentleman, And when we had put out the trip, I told people, listen, you will not get this experience again. And that gentleman retired last year. So no one is ever going to experience that ever again.
Okay, that's a unique, one of a kind.
Exactly. Money can't buy.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. And whereas so another thing, right? If I were to compare, if I were to compare Scotland to Japan. Yeah. So I know Japan had like a crisis when it came to Yamazaki in between, right? They were running out of it, which drove the prices high. So is there wouldn't people want to kind of go and explore that side as well?
So just to give an example, Japan has, I think, 13 odd distilleries, out of which only 3 or 4 offer visitor experiences, versus, and Japanese distilleries are far more recent. Yeah. So that way, Scotland is way more evolved when it comes to the whole whiskey tourism, whiskey culture, visitor experiences. And language is not a problem.
Yeah, that was my next thing. Actually, language Japanese would be more local, would be hard to actually understand a lot of things. So let's everybody try to imagine, and Vinayak's going to answer this, is when a person joins you on a whiskey tour, right, to a distillery, what can you take us through it?
So when anyone who comes on our trails, the experiences that they can expect is very different. Like, see, today you can go on any distillery website and you can book a visitor experience. But what we bring is, because we've been working with all the whiskey brands globally, the experience that we bring is something that is not on the website, that you cannot buy. So we curate, like, for example, I'll give you like this example that I gave, where people had this opportunity of having lunch and spending 4 hours with the oldest serving master distiller. Then again, like, Glenfiddich is the most well-known distillery. It's the biggest distillery in Scotland. Now you can buy experience out there. You'll get your regular tried and tested, like, one size fits all. But through us, you have a very different visitor center. You are welcomed like a proper VIP there, and then you are taken to the sections of the distillery that is otherwise not open to regular visitors. So right from the where the distillation facility, where the fermentation happens, where the warehouses are, everything is open. A lot of sections are not open to common public, are accessible through us.
Okay, that's amazing. So, do you have? So, when is the next one?
Our next one is from 26th of April.
So now, when you talk about Scotland, right? How many experiences or how many regions do you actually take people to?
So we primarily, because Scotland is very vast and it's very rugged, right? And that's where also we realize the group tours. See, we don't take more than 8 to 10 people because we want it very experiential, a very curated sort of a thing. And Scotland can be very... you can feel lonely in Scotland if you drive alone, because I remember it once happened with me. I've been to Scotland 13 times. In 2022, I was driving alone. That was my solo trip to Scotland because I had gone for some work. But you know what happens is you tend to fall asleep. It's like a video game that you're playing. And I was listening to the traditional music that I normally listen to, the familiar stuff. I said, listen, I need to wake myself up.
It's cold over
there.
It's
cold as well.
Yeah.
So I need to blast I like to, wake up my senses. That's when I put on Badshah. Something that, you don't listen to usually. So I said, let me listen to something like completely random, but coming back to the whole thing. So that's where, again, Scotland becomes, so that's group travels helps, because you have 8 to 10 people who are coming for 10 days with you. They're all hardcore whiskey enthusiasts. So like, I remember every evening people, so evenings we give people free. Because, how much can you hang out with the same set of people? Because everyone is a stranger. So we give people free so that, you can have your own thing, but all of them will invariably hang out at the same bar, having more whiskeys, beer or food, because whiskey is a common fabric that brought everyone for that tour. So. And
what are the laws in Scotland? Can you drink on the road?
No, you can't drink and drive, but see.
Not driving, just drink on the road openly.
Yeah, you can. But it's. But it seldom comes to that, because when you go to the distillery, right? For example, in a day we cover 2 distilleries. So each distillery you end up trying about 5 different whiskeys. So 10 different whiskeys by the evening. With lunch you sit down with a beer. Evening you sit down with beer. So I don't think it comes down to drinking on the street.
No, I'll tell you a personal experience of mine. When I was in Vienna, my cousin had actually recommended me to go on a winery cycling tour to the, I don't know how you pronounce this, whether it was the Wachau or the Wachau Valley. But yeah, so what we had to do is we first went to a place or area where peach schnapps was kind of created, or that was famous for, right? So we had some schnapps over there. Then we cycled, right? So cycled to a vineyard, a winery, drank. Cycle to the next one, drank. Cycle to the third one, drank. Cycle to the fourth one, drank. It's 35 kilometers in total, right? It's not a long distance. But by the end of it, you're like, oh, happy. You know? So,
I think a lot of times you end up starting drinking at 10 a.m. in the morning. That's why we encourage people to have a very hearty breakfast. And Scottish breakfast is very hearty.
and how, here's a question, right? How vegetarian friendly is it?
So, surprisingly, Scotland can be forget vegetarian, very vegan friendly as well.
That's good because actually I've noticed that, right? Most of Europe is moving towards that. I personally just went to Finland in November, and at least, and I went to like a remote place called Sariselka, which was like a one road village, right? It was there, but every restaurant, like the 5 restaurants that were there, every restaurant had 1 to 2 vegetarian dishes on their menu, vegan dishes on their menu, right? So it was very friendly that way.
Also, Scotland has a lot of local produce, so which sort of makes it easy for vegetarians as well.
Okay. Now, back to Scotland, actually. Are there any hidden gems or any lesser known distilleries that you can talk of?
Oh, lots of them. Because see, we only know the traditional, like the Glenfiddichs, the Glenlivets of the world, the Macallans of the world. But like some of the smaller distilleries, like I remember there is this distillery called Royal Bracla. It's not open to visitors. But because, again, we work extensively with a lot of these brands, we got a visitor center access there. I mean, they don't have a visitor center. We got access there. We took people there. The guys, they were so happy to see people because they're not used to having visitors, right? Yellow bottle, have as much. It's like, so there's so many distilleries that don't allow visitors, but because of the trip that we take people onto, so it's like, it's hard to pick one distillery. Like, there's one distillery called Balblair up north. Again, a very small distillery, but again, I think what I've realized through my multiple Scotland trips is smaller the distillery, the more intimate experience you will have.
Yeah, definitely. But okay, talking about that, right? How was their reaction to Indians visiting their distillery and actually appreciating whiskey, right? Was it like a culture shock to them?
Not really. I think because see, India is the biggest importer of Scotch. We are the biggest whiskey consuming country in the world. So for them, it's like run of the mill. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. No, because just a thought, right? In terms of a cultural exchange or things like that.
There are see, I'll tell you.
Do they know of the Indian whiskies that have
Some
started
of them,
coming out?
yes. Like just to give an example, I remember in Speyside, one of the whiskey regions, there's a Speyside whiskey festival that happens, and in Scotland, one of the most popular dish, you're a foodie, is chicken tikka masala and butter chicken.
That's the.
It's like, I mean, at the closing dinner, the dish was butter chicken, and because we were Indians, we were asked to judge whether it's a good butter chicken or not.
And you had to be kind of non.
I said it's not how we eat.
Yeah, exactly. Because the butter chicken over there or the chicken tikka masala over there is the UK influence. It's not the Indian one. Right? They try to claim they're in between. But yeah, apart from whiskey, what other beverages or local products do travelers get to explore during these trips?
See, I think, as I said, beer. Scotland has some exceptional beers, gins, a lot of great gins. Other than that, like, one of the most underrated thing about Scotland is the Scottish food. Like, for fish eaters, meat eaters, it's heaven. Like, the Scottish salmon, it's unlike most of the salmon that we eat, it's a river salmon, not the sea salmon. They have great meat. Like, it's like, I remember the first time I went to Scotland, I wanted to buy a property there and start rearing sheep. The meat was so good. Again, they have like this fish and chips, so haddock, and a lot of places they make it from, like, if the catch is not fresh, they will not serve you. So in terms of food-wise, I think Scotland has some amongst the best local produced for the countries that I have visited.
Excellent.
And of course, rhubarb is typical English. You get rhubarb across it.
Nice. So the rhubarb pies and everything. And what would be So when it comes to whiskey, right, and when it comes to food pairing, when it comes to local Scottish food, what would be a good pairing with the whiskey?
See, so local Scottish food, you have like, every distillery does its own take. Like, for example, you are doing a smoky whiskey, you can have it with haggis or the sausages. I had a very interesting experience last time when we took them to Singleton Distillery. While the pairing was not Scottish, but it just was something I was always skeptical about, but it just blew my mind. It was whiskey, 5 whiskeys, paired with macaron. So it was quite interesting. Again, whiskey and salmon as well. Smoked salmon, because salmon is again very local. You can have a lot of whiskey and steak as well. That goes quite well as well.
Nice. So yeah, it'll be because normally we hear of wine pairings, right, when we eat food, but here whiskey pairings. I think that's something that you'll organize as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay. That's at every distillery or
Not at every distillery, because there is only limited time.
yeah.
But during the whole 10-day trip, there are a few experiences where we do whiskey and food pairing.
Excellent. And can you share a personal highlight or a memorable moment from one of the trails?
Oh, it's difficult. It's like as I met, the first one is definitely time with Mr. Dennis Malcolm, the oldest serving master distiller. Another one would be when this distillery I told you, where they opened up the whole distillery for us. What else? It's Oh man, I think every distillery has a very unique story. I think one that's so. The last distillery that we visited on our last trip was Glenfiddich.
Okay.
And by the 10th day, you tend to be a bit exhausted because, you've been having whiskey day in like at least 10 to 12 whiskeys every day. Beer, food, you travel good. Like, while it's a nice AC coach, it's a massive one. But, spending every day about 2 hours on the road, you're not used to it, right? So when we went to the Glenfiddich distillery, everyone was very exhausted. Really, you could see it on their face. When they came out of the Glenfiddich distillery, because I didn't go because I've already been to the Glenfiddich distillery. My business partner went with them on the tour. I was just at the visitor, sitting at the cafe. When they came out, the expression on the face had completely changed, because the scale at which the Glenfiddich distillery is built, it's massive. Everyone was like sort of overwhelmed by the scale. Like you can fit 2 football fields in where the distillation happens. It's that big.
Wow.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. But yeah, that's excellent. And what's the typical feedback from guests?
Oh,
Also, actually, before that, I also wanted to understand, since you said it's 10 days, right? So typically, on average, your tours are 10 days? Or
yeah. So see, the reason it is 10 days is you will not go to Scotland often. It's not something that, and then it's like you are in one region, and like 2 distilleries would be barely like let's say 30-minute drive. Now you are in Scotland, you want to do some of the most iconic distilleries. So hence we want to bring it down, but that's where that we have kept it for a very customized trip. Like 6-8 people get together and they want us to do that. But typically 10 days, then you don't feel that, you missed out on something.
Sure.
And that is the feedback also we got coming back to, if you can keep it shorter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after doing the 10 days, they know that they're not going to come back to Scotland anytime soon.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. But also, I wanted to understand, how do you kind of... see, your distilleries and whiskey is a major part of the culture of Scotland. Right. Other than the main towns, where there could be like, cultural walks or tours, right? Is there those kind of things also that you'll curate?
Yes. So I'm not a big fan of Edinburgh.
Fair.
But the only reason I put Edinburgh is because people want that cultural thing. Because Edinburgh is very...
They want to see the
Castles and everything. But castles are across. So we do have those castles because whenever you drive around Scotland, you will come across a lot of castles. So we do, the way the whole ride is planned is that, you stop over at some iconic castles and any iconic spots.
Yeah, but you've got like the Instagram, they have to be at Edinburgh Castle, right, for Instagram.
Yeah, but that's like so what we did in Edinburgh was we put them on a food trail,
Okay.
food and a beer trail.
Yeah.
So at least that way they experience the whole culture and then they are happy. Mera wo Instagram ka kaam ho gaya. The real business is whiskey, so let's start in the evening.
Okay, that's good. For someone who has never been to Scotland, what would you say is the biggest reason to explore it through the lens of whiskey tourism?
See, other than we think whiskey. Like I remember last year, a very close friend came to Scotland. She wanted to. How many? Anyone is a Harry Potter fan here? What is that train that there is a train that goes? I don't.
Express, the Hogwarts Express.
Yeah, so it's in Scotland, right? I'm not a Harry Potter fan, even though my dog is called Dobby. But so she came primarily because she wanted to experience that. And so what about Scotland is the castles. The natural beauty is so pristine. It's like it's untouched. Every every hour or so, the landscape changes. It's very can stop anywhere and just park your bus, have a coffee, have a beer, move on. So I think the scenic beauty and
It's
peace,
untouched, right?
untouched, exactly,
yeah.
because it's very rugged. That's where again traveling in Scotland alone becomes a bit tricky because it's rugged. You don't want to do that, but the natural beauty itself. And I remember this friend of mine. She's not so much into whiskey, but the first distilleries that she came for there was so much of history about the distillery, the way the distillery was built, the whole, the way they made her try the whiskey. Like just to give an example, she is not even a whiskey drinker per se, but the whiskey that she liked was amongst the smokiest whiskey, which typically non-whiskey drinkers stay away from. So that's what Scotland does to you, that whole experience. When you are in that environment, you start liking, appreciating something that you thought you would never like.
That's great. So, non-whiskey drinkers, that's a cue for y'all. But I think, yeah, definitely, I think Scotland will give you a new perspective, right? Not only on whiskey, but culture. So travel in general will definitely give you a perspective on any kind of travel.
That virgin beauty in Scotland, the untouched, what you said was like, it's absolutely like, there is this Isle of Skye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think it's amongst while it has a very iconic distillery called Talisker, but the beauty on Isle of Skye is unparalleled. Like I remember driving down a stretch where you go down the road, both sides is the sea.
Wow. And so let's go back to a beginner, right? From a beginner level who wants to do whiskey tourism but doesn't want to go full-fledged, right? Yeah. What is it that they need to keep in mind or they need to prep, whether it is financially or otherwise?
So a couple of things. First is, especially when it comes to Scotland and whiskey tourism, solo travel might be difficult because a lot of these distilleries are in slightly remote areas. They're not very close to the city. So you have to be prepared to drive. Now, if you're driving, then you can't drink and drive. So it becomes very exhausting. So that's one thing. So solo becomes very challenging unless and until you're a hardcore whiskey person who said, no, I will go to the distillery no matter what. I will not drink. I will carry my sample bag. That's one thing. Second, Scotland is also expensive. It has become I remember first time when I went to Scotland in 2018, from then till now, the cost of food and stay in Scotland has gone up by 3 times. It is quite expensive also because a lot of tourists are, Scotland does not focus on India. The distilleries promote massively in America, and every known distillery you go, you will have bus loads of Americans and Japanese and Chinese coming in. So it's a slightly expensive destination when it comes to any beverage tourism.
Yeah, I think that's it from us. If
Cool.
there's any other parting words.
No, that's it. And I mean, any questions you guys have, you can drop a DM on our Instagram handle, and someone from our team will respond.
Yeah, and if
it's called the Dram Club _ the Dram Club.
Yeah, so any pictures or anything you are taking, or just tag us.
Yeah.
So the Dram Club _ and Pet Pujaris, PETPUJARIS.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for attending.